This is absolute bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. Um, Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. So, the showrunners of Rings of Power are saying that season 2 will be more, or tell a more canonical story. There will be, or there may well be viewers who are like, this is the story we were hoping to get in season 1 in season 2. We're giving it to them. No, you're not. No, you're not. And the reason why I say this, folks, is because they already destroyed the story in season 1 of of Rings of Power. You see, I may not have watched a single episode, which I am keeping my promise to Tolkien's memory. I will not watch a full episode of that show at all, or even more than any of the clips that I have seen. I have seen the clip of the Balrog awakening. I have seen a clip of, apparently, this Halbrand character who is revealed to be Sauron. And that is it. And, no, I've also seen the whole birth of Mordor scene, so to speak. The birth of Mount Doom. And that's about it. When it comes to the canon of this story, I'm on a number of groups and Facebook, and also responded to Prime Video's own promotions. And where there are some people who are going to come at me and call me a hater and whatnot. But there was one person who actually asked me, how is this a direct insult to Tolkien? Or what makes you say that? And I'm so glad that they did. And I'm going to basically explain why there is nothing that Amazon can do to basically tell a more canonical story. They have essentially said, or they have essentially already compressed the story. Once you compress a story like that, there's no way that you can tell it in a more canonical fashion. You've already destroyed the core value of the work that you were trying to adapt. You have already ruined that story that you are trying to adapt by compressing a timeline. So anyway, the person asked me if I could explain it and whatnot, and I will not show their name, which is why I have moved the line so it won't show. And they asked me, can I explain? And I'm like, I'm so glad you asked, and yes, I will. I could cite several articles reporting on how they didn't even have the rights to the Silmarillion, the source material needed for Second Age story. An article on how Tolkien himself most likely would not have liked this show as it completely changes his story. He wrote a letter detailing how radically changing the story is akin to murdering his own works, or his works, when some poor fool tried adapting his work in the 50s. I can also bring out articles of the crew and cast saying they are being true and faithful to Tolkien, yet the proof of the show clearly proves otherwise. Anyone who knows his works knows everything they did in this story is nothing of what Tolkien wrote. Sauron never masqueraded as a human. He masqueraded as an elf, Anatar. The Istari did not show up until the Third Age. Apparently there is that scene where a star falls and it's a person in the middle. The Istari are known to have come to Middle Earth through way of the sky, sent by Ilúvatar. Galadriel was never a commander of the Northern armies. Her entire arc in this entire story is not reflective to Tolkien in any way of how he wrote her character. Tarmiriel, I did have the name wrong here. Tarmiriel was never Queen Regent, and her description in his works was opposite of that shown. The Balrog was not woken in the depths of Khazad-dûm until the Third Age, I meant to put. So yes, the Balrog was awakened in the depths of Khazad-dûm in the Third Age, not the Second. There were only 4 forbidden relationships in Tolkien's works, or relationships that were between elf, human, and otherwise. Orcs are weakened by sunlight, not harmed by it. Orcs will go out in sunlight. They don't prefer it because they feel distress under it. They are not harmed by it, however, which is shown in the show, from what I have heard from trusted sources. Celeborn was alive and went with Galadriel to Valinor at the end of the Third Age. Isildur was born around 1600 years after the Rings of Power are forged. I don't think they have shown the rings being forged yet in this show, and if they have, well, that is a clip I have missed. But yeah, Isildur and Elisar were not around until well over 1,000 years after the forging of the Great Rings. Not to mention, the elves did not fight amongst themselves as children, as what they have shown in the beginning of the show, apparently, from what I have heard. They were above such human pettiness, or from what I remember reading. I can go on pointing out other facts, but there would be even more arguments, and I would be kicked out for giving the facts, but being seen as something I am not. Basically, pointing out that there's no such thing as dark-skinned dwarves or dark-skinned elves. I'm sorry, that's just a fact. In Tolkien's Legendarium, they don't exist. And is that racist to point out that fact? No. That is simply a fact that is being pointed out because it is indeed a fact. This mythology was based in the English and European mythology, which at the time, not many people of color, in fact, very little, if any, existed in that area at the time. So yes, pointing out these facts doesn't make me bigoted, doesn't make me racist, but what it does show is that there is absolutely no way that they can continue this show without further perverting and desecrating and molesting Tolkien's work. They should have listened to Chris Tolkien, not waited for him to die before pushing their agendas. That's just the way it is, folks. I am not here to basically tell you not to like the show. If you like it, that's fine. You can like it. I'm not here to tell you that you're an asshole or anything for liking it. I'm simply telling you to at least consider the real material before saying that this is somehow going to be canonical to the material. If the showrunners had indeed done that, and had indeed waited until they could have gotten the rights to the Silmarillion, perhaps the show would have been a little bit more faithful to the canon. However, they didn't want to do that. Anybody who had any sort of integrity whatsoever, after Amazon said, we're going to do this, we're not going to wait for the source material, we're only going to go by the cliff notes of books that came or have took place after these events. Well, anybody who has any sort of integrity whatsoever would have said, I'm sorry, I will not disrespect the greatest author of the 20th century's work by perverting it. I am well aware that he is not, or that he did not like any sort of radical changes to his work. I would seek to actually use his work and try to translate it as best as I can. What you want to have done flies in the face of all that he, or of Tolkien, was and is to many of his followers. Followers that number over 1 billion strong. Anyway, folks, I just wanted to come, or I'm not even going to bother reading Screen Rant's article because they're full of shit. this very first thing here is a lie. It's going to be try to be more canonical, and people just need to wait for a later season. No, your job was to tell the story to gain people to want to, or to entice people to want to follow it further. You failed at that. You failed to even interest me in watching your show. You failed to even interest me in giving your show any consideration. I will not. I will keep my promise to Tolkien's memory, and I will not watch a single episode in its entirety on this, or of this show. I prefer Tolkien's real works, the real stories. I will not watch this garbage, this molestation and perversion of Tolkien's stories. What you guys basically did was akin to Morgoth, twisting and destroying and creating something that is not pure. And those showrunners should be ashamed of themselves. I do not blame the cast. I do not blame them whatsoever. They are doing their jobs. However, I will criticize the cast for coming out and slamming people, saying you're nothing but bigoted racists, and how the hell would you know what Tolkien would have liked and not liked? It's in his letters. Morfydd Clark telling people to shut the fuck up and that you're nothing but sexist pieces of shit. I will criticize that. I cannot say anything to her acting other than the acting that I have seen in the trailers and in the small clips was not that impressive. But I have not seen the show in its full entirety, and I do not intend to. This show is an insult to a person whose works should be respected, not perverted. Anyway, folks, that is going to be the video. You all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think of all this? Do you think that they should have waited until they had the rights to the Silmarillion to try to faithfully adapt it? Or do you even think that they would have screwed up even if they did have the rights to the Silmarillion? Do you think that they're going to actually succeed in being more canonically correct in the second season? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below, folks. This has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble.